years ago, parts of the Gulf of Mexico were devastated by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. But now, here in Pensacola Beach, Florida, communities and ecosystems are recovering. Hello, I'm Nancy Pearlman. On this edition of Econews, we walk along the Footprints in the Sand EcoTrail on Santa Rosa Island to view wildlife, enjoy the beaches, and see historic ruins. Stay with us.
We're here on Pensacola Beach, Florida. Let me tell you a little bit about where Pensacola Beach is. Pensacola Beach is about 6 hours from Atlanta, 3 hours from New Orleans, 3 hours from Tallahassee. We are a barrier island in the Gulf of Mexico with the Intercoastal Waterway on the other side of us. Pensacola Beach itself, the developed part of the beach, is about 8 miles long, nestled between the Gulf Islands National Seashore on either side. I'm Lila Cox, and I had the privilege of working with Beverly McKay to be a co-founder and pioneer for the Footprints in the Sand EcoTrail on Pensacola Beach, Florida. Some of the things about us that are kind of funny is a bit of an identity crisis with us being Santa Rosa Island, but being known as Pensacola Beach. But once you get here, you find that it all kind of ties together. The EcoTrail itself stretches from one end of Pensacola Beach to the other. Pensacola is America's first European settlement in 1559. We had Indians going back quite a ways before that. Thank goodness we're all still here. 2010, we had a terrible oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico that had us all fearful for what was going to happen to our paradise. Fortunately, things are better now. There's been a lot of cleanup effort. Nature's done its thing. And we were fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of the fines, we're taking advantage now still of the fines, the money that BP's being required to pay to make up for what has happened here.
Hello, I'm Beverly McKay, and I'm co-founder and pioneer of the Footprints in the Sand EcoTrail on Pensacola Beach. The EcoTrail is 39 signs with 29 topics up and down the beachway of Pensacola Beach. The signs cover everything from the crabs and the shells on the beach to the birds to even how natural barrier dunes are formed on a barrier island. Certainly, if you're walking up and down the beach, you see the beauty of it. This gives you more information about why it's so beautiful and how it's so beautiful. It covers the fact that we're a migratory landing spot for so many birds and even for the monarch butterfly.
Yeah, Nancy, this is the first of 29 signs on the EcoTrail, and the app is great because we couldn't fit all the information you wanted to know about the turtles or the birds or the vegetation in this amount of space. So at the bottom of the sign you'll find a QR code. You can scan that QR code with your smartphone and it will take you directly to the Visit Pensacola Beach website. A lot of people are traveling with their pets these days, and we have a lot of accommodations on Pensacola Beach that accommodate pets.
I say co-founder and pioneer of the Footprints in the Sand EcoTrail is my title, but I actually am the general manager of the Holiday Inn Express Pensacola Beach, and it sits right on the Gulf of Mexico. It touts that every room overlooks the Gulf of Mexico with a private balcony. And a couple of years ago, that wasn't a big selling feature. We had an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, the BP Halliburton oil spill. Unfortunately, blew oil in this direction and blew what I had never heard of, something called mousse, onto our beach. It's a thick sludge that covers the beach to the point where you can't walk to the beach to put your feet in the water. There was a fear and a panic that our business, this hotel, was not going to be able to sustain itself. Why would anyone come? Fortunately, nature did its course. Winds shifted. BP spent a lot of money with cleanup crews for the shoreline portion of it. The water portion of it cleared itself, and nature is amazing. And we're back. I mean, most visitors would never have a clue that we ever suffered any of this. BP offered grant money to help restore tourism because people weren't coming back. They were still remembering those vivid images on CNN and wherever they saw the vivid images of that moose that was on our beach. My friend Lila and I got together and collaborated on what to do with this BP money. And Lila had recalled something that I'd wanted to do some time ago, and that was to make a little nature trail out of a dune crossover I have from the hotel to the Gulf, and said, we've got a lot of those nature trails on this beach.
What we have here are a number of dune crossovers that allow visitors to get from a parking lot, their car, their condo, wherever it might be, to our beautiful white sandy beach. We have these dune crossovers to protect our dunes. We're a barrier island, and those dunes are very important to stop the water in the flow of a storm. We need these barriers, we need these dunes. And so we've built here on the island these dune crossovers, which are basically just like a big wooden walkway, so that the dune can grow underneath that walkway, and we can have a nice defense line along the beach. They help because they're home to a number of our little critters. They're important in that they help sustain our plant life. And I always love to tell people there's a real reason for that crossover. Please don't create your own little path, because this helps to protect our island. It will help us in the event that we have a storm.
We have the world's largest artificial reef here in Escambia County, right off of Pensacola Beach, about 20 miles and 212 feet of water. We have the aircraft carrier USS Oriskany, the largest object that was ever intentionally placed as artificial marine habitat. And it comes off the seafloor for 150 feet, so we have not only one of the world's largest, but we have it in waters that are accessible to sport divers. There was a lot of testing done after the oil spill and during the oil spill. Part of the Gulf of Mexico was closed to fishing harvest, and after the spill was stopped and the organisms that were tested and it was deemed safe to humans to consume them, then we saw the rebound of our market economy on marine life and seafood. And there are some people that to this day are concerned and choose not to eat seafood, but all of the testing that has been conducted to date indicates that the seafood is safe to consume. Well, we would love to be able to say we know exactly what happened to the wildlife and to the plants in the Deepwater Horizon. However, without good data on those populations before, during, and after the spill, we can only surmise or infer that damages did occur, and that the Natural Resources Damage Assessment process will give us the tools to correct that, and the Restore Act will give us the long-term and greater financial ability to withstand those and hopefully prevent things like that from the future. Our beautiful white sand beaches are made up 99% quartz, and this quartz actually came from the erosion of the Appalachian Mountains, and over the millennia it has worked its way down through the coastal zone onto our beaches and is constantly in motion, sorting itself, and provides the substrate for the marine life, for the wading birds, and for us as humans. There's nothing better to me than walking out in that beautiful white sand and having it talk to you. There's probably 100 or more types of shells that one can find here on Pensacola Beach that have washed up with the waves, and the tides leave us little gifts every morning. I was privileged to work on the signage and the information for the EcoTrail to make sure that it was correct and factual, and also in a language that people could understand. Sometimes scientific information can talk over the heads of our audience, and I think that the EcoTrail signage is factual and very easy for folks to understand. The ecotourism trail did a good job of looking at the diversity of wildlife that we have here and plant life, so that it really provides something for the bird enthusiast versus the fish enthusiast or the all-around naturalist. So I think we've got something for everybody, and we also have things for people that want to stretch their knowledge and learn to appreciate something that maybe they haven't learned about before.
Every handful, you'll find dozens of shells of a number of different species, clams and snails, and just a remarkable amount of marine life has a home that it leaves behind when it moves on.
This is just so beautiful.
Yes, it is. This is truly a place that's blessed by nature.
The EcoTrail is important to people not just locally but internationally. I recently did a presentation to about, there must have been 6 visitors from Russia. They were all either directors or managers of their version of our state parks. And they found out about the EcoTrail as well. Wanted to see what it was about. Why is it important to us? There's so much diversity in nature out here in Pensacola Beach, which isn't something you'd expect from a place that's already been developed. So it is important for us to be able to demonstrate to the world the fact that we can coexist with development and environment and still have something as beautiful as Pensacola Beach, where neither has been ruined. So the EcoTrail just helps people navigate from one end of the island to the other and see how enormous the flora and fauna is out here. People come down here and they just see water or sand and nothing in between. So the EcoTrail takes people from one end of the island to the other with signs and certain vantage points to be able to show to them and bring them closer to what exists out here. You don't have to completely shut out humanity in order to preserve an environmental area. And by the same token, you don't have to give it up just because you put some buildings. You can work together with members of the public, members who live in the community, and people with a long-range thought to be able to collaborate and keep this for what it is and share it with the rest of the public, because after all, they are the ones that are going to use and promote it. The residents got together, some of the business people got together and decided, why don't we use this money in order to promote Pensacola Beach? Let's take something like the oil spill and turn it into a positive. And let's go out and promote what this island has to offer. And let's use this money to do it with. It came at a great expense, but the opportunity wasn't missed. Because what you want to encourage is, you want to encourage these seeds that come off of the other plants to actually grow by themselves. Completely like that. And the seeds get retained. These are all the seeds. And these get taken back and they get germinated. So you'll see that when they came by here, they completely left these plants alone. So what they would do is, they'd say, strip these over here, and then they'll leave those, and they'll go to the next batch and strip those. There you go. Those are all the CO seeds.
Hi, I'm Teresa Preston, president of the Pensacola Beach Advocates, and our organization is committed to making the beach a better place through advocacy with citizens and visitors and businesses on Pensacola Beach. We're working through our Beachkeepers group to restore the dunes, assist in sea turtle and shore nesting bird preservation, and keeping this beach a wonderful place for generations to come. Dunes are important on Pensacola Beach for 2 reasons. Number one, they protect the island as a whole, and they also supply habitat to our nesting birds. They supply a place for our shore sea turtles to build their nests, and they supply a habitat for several mammalian species as well. We also need dunes to protect our homes. The higher the dunes are, the less likely the water is going to come over and come into our homes. The One benefit of the BP oil spill, believe it or not, was that BP donated quite a bit of planting of native grasses for us to put on the national seashore. So a lot of the national seashore's replanting was done as a result of BP wanting to do the right thing after oiling our beaches. And then people that had beachfront property also planted as well. After Hurricane Ivan destroyed our dunes and we ended up having our beaches oiled by the Deepwater Horizon, the ability to get a grant to help educate people on how to preserve our dunes and how to take care of all the wonderful ecosystem that we had became a major mission of the Pensacola Beach Advocates. And through the work of Lila Cox and others in the Beachkeepers group, we have this beautiful Footprints in the Sand eco tour now. And hopefully that will bring people down here to help appreciate the things that we have here in Paradise.
Well, I think the first thing that I noticed when we moved here, and we moved in the fall, and I was just overwhelmed by the Monarch Butterflies that lived here, or they were in transit from here to Mexico, because every year they moved through here in the fall, and they nest in Mexico, and there were just hundreds of thousands of Monarch Butterflies all over this island, the neighboring communities, and that was the first experience I'd had with a large amount of wildlife in one area. Hurricane Ivan, when it came through, devastated this island. I mean, the sand dunes washed over the island, it destroyed the homes, it destroyed the habitat, and it was very obvious after that that the butterflies were not coming here in the numbers and now they're almost non-existent. You have to really, really look to get a nice picture of butterflies. The pelicans would see them flying in groups of 25 or 30, and they would come down the island, and they had favorite places that they would roost for the evening. And one of those was a group of pilings near a restaurant nearby. And the restaurant decided it didn't want those pilings to be have a roosting place for the pelicans, and they put these little white covers over the top. And other people do it too. I mean, they have their piers out there and they have pilings and they put the little white cones on top. Well, the birds can't rest there for the evening, so they have to find someplace else. Well, from what I can tell, most of them have moved over to Pensacola, where there's a place they can roost. So you don't see them here as much. It's a great challenge for any photographer to catch a bird, in action, doing something so that it's clear enough for your photograph. Because you want to try to catch a skimmer, they scoot right along the surface of the water, and they have a lower beak that actually just barely touches the water. And as soon as they spy a minnow or a small fish, that beak dips down and skims up the fish. And they're very, very difficult to photograph. Primarily because they like to fish late in the afternoon. The lighting's not very good for a camera. Well, the most challenging was to try to catch the osprey when they're landing in motion. They've got these giant talons, and they've got either a fish that they're in and bringing back to the nest, or they're building a nest. And sometimes you just have to sit and wait and wait and wait for them to come, because they're sitting. You can see them. They're sitting over there in a tree, cooling their heels, not busy doing anything and not paying attention to the fact that you'd like to get a picture. They don't mind people, but they do need a place to nest. And Hurricane Ivan destroyed almost all the trees on this island. So they've had a hard time finding places to nest. So it really requires man to participate in managing the birds. So if they have lost their trees to nest in, we can go out and put a telephone pole up and then put a nest platform there, and they will nest there. And here's one dolphin by himself, entertaining himself. They're very playful. And he would jump completely out of the water like that. And then same thing again. And they just, you know, they're a very playful animal and they're fun to watch. And you do see a lot of dolphin here. And they're difficult to photograph. The best thing to do to photograph is take one of the local boats and go out on a dolphin excursion, and they will play behind the boat. They will actually swim behind the boat. They like to get in the wake, just like that.
I have discovered that you never know when you will find your passion in life. I happened to discover one that was hatching one night, a beautiful nest, and when I saw it, it just brought out the passion in me. At that point, I started nest setting, and from there, I got into patrolling, and that has really been what I focused on since then. Sea turtles are coming ashore. It's very important not to have that light because it can frighten them away and they will not come ashore to nest. When it comes to hatchlings, you have to be very careful because that can disorient them and they won't know where they need to go. They will not stay in that path, and you don't want to blind them and cause any kind of confusion for them to get into the water. Sea turtles are reptiles, and they have flippers, and they are beautiful and graceful when they're in the water, but you can imagine when a sea turtle comes ashore to lay her nest, all the gravity is weighing down on her. She's using only her flippers to pull herself ashore. With her flippers, she is digging her nest, laying her eggs, covering it back up, which can be an hour process. Then this creature, which is 250 to 350 pounds for the larger ones, then they have to go back into the Gulf or into the ocean. That is a tremendous amount of weight, doing all this process only with their flippers. At 20 to 30 years of age, and that's when we start seeing them come back. In our case, our program here on Pensacola Beach has been going on now for approximately 22 years. And if you look at the numbers now, we're finally seeing the uptick in those numbers. So we think that our monitoring program and our dedication to this is finally paying off in conservation. It's very important that the hatchlings, once they emerge, that they do their march on the beach. The beach, they managed to do like a miniature GPS. And this is where they set their GPS, and years later, they know that this is the home where they come to nest. So those are patrolled starting in May. Every morning we look for the tracks, we document them, we GPS them, and then we check on them every day. Sometimes we have tropical storms that come close enough that we have a high water surge, and it can overwash them. A nest can survive an overwash, but if it happens to be in a low-lying area, the eggs are permeable and they can drown. During the oil spill, we had no idea what that could do to the sea turtles. When there was oil washing ashore and on top of the nest, what was leaching down into that nest and how would that affect them? And that year we did not have many nests. We had about 10. It could have been partially them coming ashore, they were delayed, or we don't really know. It could have been the activity on the beach during the cleanup that kept them away. We just have to get out there and do the best we can and educate people and get them to help us, keeping the beaches clean, picking up after themselves, leaving their footprints behind, but nothing else.
It's been great meeting with citizen activists and governmental representatives here in Pensacola Beach, Florida, who are working to protect sea turtles. On behalf of Econews and our nonprofit organization, Educational Communications, I'm Nancy Pearlman, wishing you a natural, unspoiled environment.